Throughout your recent history, there's been this machine gun.
A Lewis machine gun from the Battle of the Somme 1916.
Which was, at some point in its career, attached to the front of a little First World War aircraft, which you used to fly.
Yes. Yes, it was a replica, and I built a DH-2, a de Havilland 2, a highly successful airplane at just before the Battle of the Somme, 1916. It was only effective for about a year, but it could outturn the German Eindecker. The Eindecker was the first monoplane of importance that the Germans were flying, and they could shoot through the propeller. And we didn't have anything at that time, and of course my aeroplane had the big engine behind me, and I had the Lewis machine gun in front of me, and it could outturn.
Let's not go too far into the First World War. Your war started, you sold that aircraft with the machine gun.
Well, I bought it, put it together, and I then sold the aircraft after I had flown it at Farnborough Air Show, because the test pilot, Brian Trebshaw, flew 002, was a great friend of mine for 40 years and got me to fly it. I then sold the aircraft because I just got bored with air shows. I've done most things in aviation except travel the world, and so I sold her on to a museum in Lincolnshire, and the police scratched their heads because the civil claim became very serious in October 2008, because the retiring judge knew that it was all wrong. If I've won 50 criminal...
This was another case. It wasn't the aircraft as such. It became an issue.
This is what caused the machine gun arrest.
Right.
And it has to be told in this order. Around about the 4th, was it, or the 8th of October, I persuaded the judge retiring. I may not at this stage be allowed to mention them, the good judges, so I better not mention any names. Right? Yeah, and he allowed me to demand that the chief constable at the time of South Wales Police sign a sworn affidavit that the evidence that they were giving in rebuttal to me, the prosecutor, of 36 failed malicious criminal prosecution was true. There was no lying. Well, everybody in the courtroom, the judge said yes, and everybody took a deep breath.
For absolute clarity, the machine gun is safely now in a museum. It's not a danger to anybody. It never was a danger to anybody.
But you see, from that moment onwards, I became a MAPA danger.
Which is what, MAPA?
Multi-agency public protection arrangements. This is a group, a very efficient, and I'm very proud that it's British. They meet and keep an eye on dangerous people, and it's very good. And they then decided, how can we stop him proceeding any further with his civil claim? So they said, oh, he had an old machine gun. Oh, it bolted to an aeroplane. But I'd sold it the year earlier, and so they said, well, we'll do him for that. So the South Wales Police drove up.
Let's not get too much into the point is, here's you, and they map a... Once you get into the paperwork, a potentially dangerous man with a machine gun, this is how the system operates, isn't it?
They had to snuff me out.
Yeah.
Make me run out of money. I mean, I sold 3 houses so far to keep going.
I mean, obviously most people would probably say, well, let's throw in the towel, not pursue it. Obviously there's some
but they
goal
sent me,
that you want.
No, but what they did, they sent me a bill of just under £1 million. And they've now been stopped from sending another one, £1 million. We don't know who, somebody saying it's time you lot settled, and don't give him another bill, which is due, for legal costs. And to let me, I want to get in, that in 2009, therefore, they arrested me for having the machine gun. But I'd already sold it. They know that. They knew that. And they went up to the museum in Lincolnshire, brought the gun back to the HQ, headquarters of the police, South Wales Police in Bridgend, and they unblocked the barrel and painted it back to the colour of when I owned the gun. And when I went to a trial, I was locked up for 8 months, which is a lot longer than most people for jury trials. They're bending a few rules there, which I can't talk about at the moment. And the jury were laughing their heads off. I mean, there were 8 ladies on the jury, and it was like Wimbledon. There I was cross-examining the police, and they kept laughing because in the pub afterwards there were 8 of them in the pub. There was 2 men and 6 of the ladies, and they dragged me in. They saw us all coming out when I won it with my bow tie and everything, and they dragged us all in, and the Jersey family, Celia's kids, and they said, well, you cross-examined them, and we all said, let's all go home. This is a waste of time. And there was one police plant on the jury who was feeding everything back to the prosecution. They do it all the time in Wales, to feed the prosecution, to twist the story. And of course I was playing a counter game of trying to lose it, because I was incensed with it. I said, no, I'm going to lose it and win it in London, in the Royal Courts of Justice, and walk out of the Royal Courts of Justice and show up these corrupt people once and for all. And the prison officer said, don't do that. You'll be locked up for 2 years before you can get there. We all know it's a hoax. We all know it's to stop the civil claim. I said, yes, but the jury are dealing with a criminal conviction. I was promised a jury for the civil claim 28 years ago, and now they've abolished juries.
Again, we're going to have to stop again because we're going to have to start again on a slightly different